I didn't expect to see her in the hallway like that. Barefoot, hair loose, the dim glow of emergency lights catching the edges of her face. She leaned against her doorframe, arms folded, but her eyes searched mine as if she'd already made a decision. "The power's out," she said softly, almost too casually. Then, after a pause, her lips curved just slightly. "Stay with me tonight." For a second, I couldn't breathe. She was older, old enough that people might think it strange that I was always noticing her, old enough that she carried herself with the kind of grace most people can't fake. But in that moment, she wasn't just graceful. She looked a little unguarded, her confidence tempered by something like hesitation. I stepped into her apartment, and the door clicked shut behind me. The silence was thick, the kind that presses in when there's no hum of electricity, no TV chatter, no streetlight glow bleeding through the curtains. Just her and me. Just the sound of my own pulse in my ears. She lit a candle on the table, its flame flickering against her skin. My eyes lingered longer than they should have. The curve of her wrist as she struck the match, the faint tremor in her fingers, the way the shadows traced her collarbone. "You don't mind, do you?" she asked. Her tone was calm, but her body betrayed her, crossing and uncrossing her arms, then smoothing the hem of her sweater as if it suddenly mattered how she looked in the half-light. "No," I said, maybe too quickly. My voice sounded rougher than I intended. "I don't mind at all." Her laugh was quiet, almost like she didn't mean for me to hear it. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, but the space between us felt charged. She tucked one leg beneath her, leaning slightly toward me. I noticed the faint scent of her perfume, warm, subtle, something that clung to the air. Our words came slowly. A comment about the storm outside. A half-finished story about when the power last went out. I said too much, she said too little. But in the pauses, in the silences where neither of us seemed to know what to say next, I felt it most. Her hand brushed mine once when she reached for the candle to steady it. A quick touch, nothing really, but it left my skin warm, tingling as if she'd meant more. I wanted to say something then, to break the quiet with words that might explain the way my chest tightened every time she looked at me. But when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. Instead, I watched her. The way her lips parted slightly when she breathed. The way her gaze sometimes dropped to my hands, then darted away, almost guilty. The way she seemed both completely at ease and completely restless. "Strange, isn't it?" she murmured at last. "How quiet everything feels without the power." "Yeah," I managed. My voice was low. "Makes you notice things you usually don't." Her eyes lingered on mine, and she didn't look away this time. The silence stretched until I felt it pressing into me, heavy, electric. Then, suddenly, there was a sound. A sharp knock at the door. Her body stiffened. My breath caught. She didn't move to answer it. She only looked at me, candlelight flickering in her eyes, and whispered, "Don't say anything." The knock at her door faded into silence. Whoever it was must have given up, but the echo of it lingered between us. She stayed still, eyes on me, until the quiet settled again. "I don't usually invite people in," she said finally, voice soft, almost confessional. I tried to smile, but my chest tightened. "You mean neighbors?" Her lips curved faintly. "I mean anyone." She leaned back into the couch, arms folded as if to reclaim the distance she'd let slip. But the candlelight betrayed her, warming the edges of her face, showing the faint tension at her jaw. I wanted to ask her more, but she spoke first. "I was married once. A long time ago. It didn't last." Her fingers traced the rim of the candle holder absently. "Since then, it's been easier not to let anyone too close." I nodded, though I didn't know what to say. She looked away, as if regretting she'd said anything. To cover the pause, I said, "I've never really." I stopped, clearing my throat. "Never been with someone seriously." She glanced at me then, a flicker of surprise, maybe even curiosity. "You're young. You have time." Her words should have dismissed me, but the way she said them, soft, almost wistful, only pulled me closer. The storm outside rattled the window, and she shifted nearer, maybe out of instinct, maybe out of something she didn't want to name. Her shoulder brushed mine for just a second. The warmth stayed. I forced myself to look away, to focus on the shadow of the candle flame instead of the curve of her body leaning so close. But my thoughts betrayed me. The faint scent of her perfume, the way a strand of hair had fallen loose against her cheek, the sound of her breath, slow and steady, inches from my own. This shouldn't feel so. She stopped, shaking her head as if catching herself. So what? I asked quietly. She hesitated. Her hand lifted as if to adjust the candle, but instead it lingered near my arm, fingers brushing just lightly against my sleeve. Barely there, but enough. So easy, she whispered. Neither of us moved for a long moment. The silence was thick again, but different now. Less like an absence, more like a pull. I wanted to say something, anything, to bridge the space that still separated us. But all I could do was watch her hand as it lingered, then slowly drew back, retreating as though she'd remembered the years between us, the invisible lines we weren't supposed to cross. Her breath caught as she pulled away, and without meaning to, I reached out. My hand covered hers briefly, warm, steady. She froze, then let it rest there, just for a heartbeat longer than she should have. When she finally withdrew, she didn't look at me, but her lips parted, and in the dim light, I swore I saw the faintest tremor of a smile. The storm had settled into a steady hum against the windows. The candle was burning low, its wax pooling slowly. She sat close enough that her knee almost brushed mine, and I wondered if she felt the same pull that knotted in my chest. Then, suddenly, her phone buzzed against the table. The sound was sharp in the silence, jarring. She snatched it up too quickly, thumb hovering over the screen. A name lit up, then faded when she silenced it. I caught the flash of something in her eyes, relief mixed with guilt. Just a friend, she said, voice tight, not meeting my gaze. She placed the phone face down, as if turning it over might erase what it revealed. I didn't push. But the quiet between us was different now, threaded with something unsaid. She leaned back, exhaling slowly. This us, sitting here like this. It isn't what people would expect. Her words cut close. Because of the age thing? Her eyes flicked to mine, holding for a beat too long. Because of everything. Her voice was low, almost fragile, and I felt the weight of years I hadn't lived pressing in the space between us. The wind howled outside, rattling the glass. She shifted closer, maybe without realizing. Her shoulder brushed mine again, light, tentative, but she didn't move away this time. My heart raced, each beat louder than the storm. I wanted to say something, tell her how I noticed every small thing about her, how her presence had filled my head long before tonight, but my words caught. Instead, I turned toward her. She mirrored me, slowly, as if drawn by something neither of us wanted to admit. Her breath mingled with mine, warm in the narrow space left between us. Her eyes dropped briefly to my mouth, then darted back up, guilty, almost afraid. The moment stretched thin. Every second was fragile, dangerous. Then a knock again, louder this time, insistent. Her body jolted, and she pressed a hand to my arm, holding me still as though I might rise to answer. Don't, she whispered. Her grip lingered longer than necessary, her palm warm against my sleeve. We sat frozen, listening as the knocks grew, then faded. At last, silence returned, heavier than before. She pulled her hand back slowly, as if reluctant. Her lips parted, but no words came. Mine did the same. We hovered there, caught between distance and something more. Her face was so close now I could see the faintest tremor at the corner of her mouth, the soft glow of candlelight flickering in her eyes. We didn't kiss. Not yet. But when she leaned just slightly closer, her hair brushed my cheek, and the world outside vanished. The silence roared with everything we weren't saying. And though neither of us moved further, we didn't move away either. The storm outside had grown wild again, thunder rolling so close it rattled the glass. Inside, the candle's flame quivered, throwing restless shadows across the walls. She sat close, too close, her thigh brushing mine every time she shifted. I told myself to focus on the storm, on anything but the pull between us. But it was no use. Her phone buzzed again on the table. This time, she didn't touch it. She stared at it like it was an accusation. You should answer, I said quietly. Her head turned sharply. No. The word came out firmer than she meant it, and she faltered, softening. It doesn't matter. But it did. I saw it in the tightness of her jaw, in the way her hands twisted together in her lap. Who is it? I asked before I could stop myself. Her eyes snapped to mine. For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then she exhaled. Someone I should want. Someone safe. Someone not you. The words sliced through me, but the way her voice broke on that last part, the way her eyes lingered, almost pleading, made my chest ache. I don't want safe, I said, lower than a whisper. Her breath caught. The silence between us snapped taut, unbearable. I leaned in before I could second-guess it, and she didn't move away. My hand lifted, hesitant, then finally brushed a loose strand of hair from her face. My fingers lingered against her cheek, warm skin beneath them. Her eyes fluttered shut for a moment, as though the touch undid her. When she opened them, they shone with something raw, something she'd been trying to hide all night. You don't understand what this would mean, she murmured, her voice trembling. People would talk. They'd call it wrong. Foolish. I swallowed hard. Let them. Her lips parted, but no sound came. The storm crashed outside, but inside, the only thing I could hear was her breath mingling with mine. She leaned forward, just slightly, and her forehead almost brushed mine. My hand slid down, resting against the curve of her neck, feeling the fast, nervous beat of her pulse. This can't, she started, but her voice broke. It already has, I whispered. Her body swayed closer, like every argument she'd built was crumbling all at once. My thumb traced along her jaw, slow, trembling. For a heartbeat, it felt inevitable. Our lips were inches apart, her breath hot against my mouth. Then, a sharp crack of thunder shook the room, and the candle sputtered, plunging us into near darkness. In that moment, she pressed her forehead fully against mine, eyes closed, as if surrendering. And in the dark, she whispered one fragile word that changed everything. Stay. Her whisper still hung between us, fragile and dangerous. Stay? I might have answered, might have given in completely, but the faint buzz of her phone lit up the table again, cutting through the dark. The glow spilled across her face, revealing the name on the screen before she could snatch it away. I saw it. Her ex-husband. My chest tightened. She froze, the phone clutched in her hand, fingers trembling just slightly. You still talk to him, I said before I could stop myself. Her eyes snapped to mine, sharp, defensive. Then they softened. He calls. I don't answer. Not anymore. She set the phone down with a shaky breath. But sometimes I want to. The honesty stung more than if she'd denied it. I leaned back slightly, my pulse unsteady. And here I am, sitting in your apartment like I'm... You're not a replacement, she cut in, almost desperate. Her hand shot out, catching my wrist before I could pull further away. Don't think that. Her grip lingered, too warm, too real. But her words only deepened the ache in my chest. Then what am I? The question slipped out before I could choke it back. Her lips parted, but nothing came. She let go of my wrist slowly, her hand falling to her lap. The silence pressed in. I could feel her confusion, her regret, her longing, all of it swirling too close to the surface. And I hated how much I wanted to bridge it, even now. She stood suddenly, pacing toward the window. The candlelight followed her, tracing the tension in her shoulders. I shouldn't have asked you to stay, she whispered. It isn't fair to you. Her words should have ended it. But instead, they pulled me to my feet. I crossed the room before I realized what I was doing. She turned, startled, and we nearly collided. My hand brushed her arm, then slid to her waist as if it belonged there. Her breath caught, and she didn't move away. You think I don't know the risk? My voice was low, rough. I don't care. She stared at me, eyes shining in the dim light. Her hand lifted slowly, hesitantly, until her fingers brushed my chest, resting there like a question. I don't know if I can stop once this starts, she admitted, barely audible. The words sent a shiver through me. For a moment, we stood pressed close, every line of our bodies trembling with the weight of what hadn't yet happened. I could feel the heat of her skin through her sweater, the steady rise and fall of her breath against me. Her eyes fell to my mouth again, longer this time. She didn't hide it. Then she whispered, almost like a confession, "Tell me to stop." I couldn't. And in that silence, our decision was already made. Her words clung to the air, "Tell me to stop." But neither of us moved. The storm outside had quieted to a distant murmur, as if even the world was holding its breath. Inside, the candle burned low, the flame bending as though it too was leaning toward her. She stood so close I could feel the warmth radiating off her, the faint brush of her sweater against my chest whenever she inhaled. My hand hovered at her waist, not quite touching, trembling with restraint. Her eyes searched mine, wide and unsteady. "You don't know what you're asking for," she whispered. "Then show me." I breathed. The space between us shattered. She closed the last inches, her forehead pressing lightly against mine, her breath spilling over my lips. Not a kiss. Not yet, but close enough that my body ached with the nearness. Her hands rose, hesitated, then curled into the fabric of my shirt, clutching like she needed the anchor. "This is wrong," she said, but her voice shook with something that betrayed her. "Then let it be wrong," I answered, my own voice low, raw. For a long, fragile moment, we stayed suspended there, neither surrendering, neither pulling away. Every heartbeat felt like it might tip us over the edge. And then she broke. Her hand slid up, fingers brushing against my neck, and she drew me closer until our lips finally touched, soft at first, tentative, like she was afraid the world might collapse around us. But then the kiss deepened, years of silence and hesitation unraveling all at once. I tasted her breath, felt the tremor in her body, the way she clung to me as though she'd been waiting far too long. When we finally pulled apart, it wasn't because we wanted to. It was because we had to breathe. Her eyes stayed closed for a second, her forehead still resting against mine. Then she let out a shaky laugh, half relief, half disbelief. I swore I'd never let anyone close again. I caught her hand, threading my fingers through hers. "Then why me?" She opened her eyes, and for the first time all night, there was no guardedness, no mask. Just the raw truth of it. "Because you see me. Not what I used to be. Not what people think I should be. Just me." The words rooted deep, leaving me speechless. We stood there, hands entwined, the storm outside fading into silence. No more hesitation. No more pretending this wasn't real. Whatever came next, gossip, judgment, regret, it didn't matter. Because in that moment, I understood her completely. And she me. The storm had finally passed. The silence that followed felt softer, lighter, as though the whole world had exhaled. We stayed where we were, close, her hand still clasped in mine. Neither of us spoke at first, afraid that words might undo what had just been set free. At last, she broke the quiet. "You're too young for this kind of complication," she whispered, though her fingers didn't loosen their hold on mine. I shook my head, leaning closer so she could hear the steadiness in my voice. "I don't care how it looks. I don't care what people think. My breath caught as I searched her eyes. "I just don't want to pretend anymore." Her eyes softened, shadows of hesitation still flickering there. "It's not only about what people think," she admitted. "It's about me. About whether I can believe I deserve this again." I lifted her hand to my lips, brushing the back of it gently. "You do." The words lingered between us, and for the first time all night, I saw her believe them. She let out a trembling sigh, then leaned forward, pressing her forehead against mine. A soft laugh slipped out of her, shaky but real. "You make it sound so simple." "Maybe it is," I said, smiling faintly. Her other hand rose, brushing the side of my face with hesitant fingers, tracing as though she needed to memorize me. Then she pulled me into a quiet embrace, her arms circling me slowly, fully. I felt her body relax against mine, years of restraint melting away in that simple closeness. We didn't rush. We didn't need to. Sitting together in the flickering candlelight, the storm behind us, I knew we had already chosen. "I don't know what tomorrow will look like," she admitted against my shoulder. "Then let's not worry about tomorrow tonight," I murmured. She smiled at that, pulling back just enough to meet my gaze again. The distance between us had vanished, and not just physically. Whatever doubts lingered were quieter now, softened by the truth we'd finally allowed ourselves. Her lips brushed mine again, slower this time, gentler, like a promise rather than a question. When she pulled away, she rested her head against my chest, our hands still intertwined. For the first time since I'd met her, she didn't look guarded. She looked free, and I realized I felt the same. We stayed like that, letting the silence hold us, until the candle finally burned low and the room dimmed into shadows. Whatever storm waited outside those walls, whatever people might say, none of it mattered anymore. Because tonight, we had chosen each other. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?